Mr. Speaker, who could be against the following motion? That, given that, after 9 years, the government has doubled housing costs, taxed food, punished work, unleashed crime, and is the most centralizing government in Canadian history, the House has lost confidence in the government and offers Canadians the option to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a very simple answer to his question as to who's opposed to that motion. Canadians.
Months ago, I asked the government who could be against a motion pointing out that this government's doubled housing costs, taxed food, punished work, and unleashed crime to give Canadians the chance to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. And she said, Canadians are against all of those things. If that's the case, then why won't she let them decide in a carbon tax election now?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's a little sad that the Leader of the Opposition, having just lost a vote of non-confidence in the government yesterday, is putting forward the exact same motion today. I think it shows his desperation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
No, in fact, the motion specifically demonstrates that this government, this NDP Liberal government, has doubled housing costs. I found it interesting that the NDP has now discovered that they doubled housing costs. A second ago, a Montreal MP stood up to point to a young woman, Pascal, who can no longer afford to rent, much less to own, after housing costs have tripled in that city. When I was housing minister, rent was $700 in Montreal, and we built almost 200,000 units. Mr. Speaker, why can't the NDP put their actions where their words are and vote for a carbon tax? The
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
These slogans are clever, but they are empty, Mr. Speaker. It's empty rhetoric on the other side as always. In fact, he should take a look at the CMHC's report from today that puts a spotlight on Montreal, 106% increase in rental construction. Why is that, Mr. Speaker? Because GST has been waived by this government to ensure greater supply, to incent builders during a difficult time. He has no idea how to incent that sector. He's good at running around the country and insulting mayors, putting a spotlight on the homeless, but coming up with no ideas on that. It's more right-wing populism. They have nothing to say, Mr. Speaker.
The NDP leader made a big deal about tearing up the supply agreement with the Liberals and then flip-flop by voting to keep this Prime Minister in power.
That's right.
The NDP leader needs to end the costly coalition with the Liberals. People can't afford to eat. Ontario Food Banks just posted an 8-year high in usage. Canadians need a carbon tax election. Why is the Prime Minister so afraid to have one?
Colleagues, as I've indicated in my ruling earlier today, the Chair has offered the Leader of the Official Opposition the opportunity to make amends regarding the words he used last week, or else I would remove questions from him during question period today. Having not received such a commitment on his part, and the member having not withdrawn his comments, I will therefore remove 3 questions from the Leader of the Official Opposition in the opening round today.
Mr. Speaker, while we appreciate that you have acknowledged and ruled that the Leader of the Opposition was out of order last Thursday, we are confused by the mixed messaging that you've sent to this House. The member was out of order and yet has still been allowed to participate in debate, and today have 5 questions in question period. The regular practice is that a member isn't recognized to speak until they have withdrawn, and that is not being applied, and we have some concerns about the mixed messages. I'd also like to remind the Speaker of the very serious matter that was raised yesterday regarding the member for Fort Saskatchewan Sherwood Park. We are still waiting for him to withdraw and apologize for his homophobic and disgusting comment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We've heard
a few words said in this House about bullying. I'm trying to provide an explanation with context and to answer false allegations that have been made against me, and I will persist in doing that. So following questions from the Leader of the Opposition about a $9 million luxury condo purchased by the government, and in particular identifying among the features of that condo a luxury bathtub, the Prime Minister ignored reference to those features and instead spoke about the engagement done by the government internationally. Right. And the Hansard shows the exchange, and many of the comments about made on Twitter about what was allegedly said don't reflect what's in the Hansard. The Hansard notes, does he engage with them in the bathtub? The point of that comment is to illustrate that, of course, meetings don't take place in a bathtub. A luxurious bathtub has nothing to do with meetings. The Prime Minister's answer had nothing to do with the questions, but it had nothing to do with sex. I wasn't thinking about sex at all.
The honourable member from Timmins James Bay is rising on a point of order.
Speaker, I'll keep my remarks to a minute. I hope you'll let me finish. TA, we saw the tape. I've listened to the tape. What we didn't hear was an apology. So I just want to understand that the Speaker is saying that a Conservative member can make a homosexual slur against the Prime Minister of the country and it's okay and he can defend himself for good 10-minute speaking. Is that the standard that we have in the House? We would like to know that that's the standard that this Speaker is bringing, because it very much clarifies where we go from here.